But I think that little bit of not disbelief, that's the wrong word. Him not believing in what I wanted to do was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because I took it and I ran with it and I used that as fuel. I used that as ammo to keep going. And that's where I met my other mentors, who I will always shout out as well, at PE Tech, Mary Duker, Bruce Cadle, Inga Economo. People, I'll never forget Mary Duker, very strict, so clever. I'll never forget her saying to me in fourth year, I was going to stay in PE because I was already offered a job.
Yes.
Right? And she said to me, if you stay in PE, I will make your life a living hell and I will make sure you get fired. You are not meant to be here.
Oh.
There is something inside of you that is a lot bigger. I don't know what it is, but you're not meant to be in PE. I will not be a reference for you. I will say bad things so they don't hire you anywhere in PE. Please go to Joburg, go to Cape Town. You have to do it. And I did. I was still studying and I applied and I got my job in advertising before I finished studying. So I had to wait until the following year. So these are people who saw things in me that I had no idea even existed and still do.
So let me ask then, when it comes to your faith, what do you believe in? Because your story, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps, is riddled with big godly interventions.
Yes.
Very big godly interventions.
We grew up in a religious home. I'm Catholic. So I believe in these kinds of things. I believe that those people were put there for a reason, that I was meant to meet them at that time. Even now, with my current partnership with Goliath and Goliath, where in the world do three guys named or with the surname Goliath meet up in a comedy club, all end up doing the same thing and go on to do things beyond our wildest dreams?
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.
Donovan Goliath is in the building.
I wanted those steel pan drums as an intro. I think those things must become the new Imagine. That's what you should do every time you drop a punchline. Ding, 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 ding.
I am so dead. We've got a whole 12 minutes recording of the steel drums, so I'm going to do it. No more beep, 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 beep.
Ding, 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 ding.
Listen, what's happening with your group threesome?
What do you mean?
Your group threesome.
My squad, the Goliath, however you wanna call us. No, we're still running strong. I don't do stand up anymore. But the other guys are still going for it.
Why don't you do stand-up anymore?
Because I've diversified.
Is it because you suck?
No, I'm pretty amazing. No, so what happened in 2020 when pandemic happened, you obviously couldn't perform, and
Yes.
I started creating a lot of stuff online, which people loved. It took off, and then brands got on board and started collaborating with me, and started making money from it.
Can I just say, you are so good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are like exceptionally good at just how quick you are, how witty you are. And I just had a thought cross my mind.
Yeah.
We were talking to Zapiro day before yesterday, just about 3 decades of this amazing work that he does as a cartoonist and political commentator. And I just thought, as I'm talking, you are like the modern version
of
a Zapiro. And I'll tell you why. Because you reflect the thoughts we are already having and you put them into something visual.
Yeah.
You put something together that creates conversation. Some of it is political, some of it is not, but we always come out laughing and thinking and having like I just thought of it now. I'm
Thank
like,
you.
wow, you guys are actually, you are the modern day Zapiro of what, I mean, yes, he's still what drawer.
Yeah. To put it
You're just
bluntly.
what drawer. What sketcher, you know. But you are the modern version of that, where you're not necessarily into doing the hard news, but you, for me, are truly one of the voices of our generation with your interpretation of what you see and the things that you kill me. Like all of your mug and bean things are my favorite.
People love those.
The mug and bean series. And I mean, I have to just share with all the listeners who may not be familiar with your work, Donovan, because not all of our listeners live on Instagram
Sure,
and
sure.
the socials, but Donovan takes all these inside jokes and he makes them into a visual interpretation. So when I speak of the Mug and Bean series, he will say if a sneaker was being sold at Mug and Bean,
If the people who make the muffins
yes,
at Mug and Bean made sneakers.
yes, then it'll be a massive sneaker because
Yes.
we all know the Mug and Bean muffins are just illegally ginormous.
Yeah.
I still don't know why they're that big.
You know
and
what?
who finishes
It's
them?
it's that saying where somebody goes, there's food for Africa. There is one of them. Like if there's one, like you're gonna feed a lot of people.
So if an American comes to you and says, I thought Africans were starving, and then you
Yeah.
take them to Mug and Bean.
Yeah, you'd be like, bro, this is abundance. And you're right. Has anybody, this is a good, like there's a poll that could go out here. Has anybody ever finished a muffin in a sitting, in one sitting? I'm not talking over 2 days, in one sitting. Like, I think Mug and Bean, that's kaftin material, right?
So that's what Donovan does, and I just love all these crazy ideas that you have, and the fact that brands are coming on. I'm like, they were sleeping on you. And do you feel? And I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say I think COVID was the best thing to happen to you, not the virus, but the being forced to have to rethink the things that you're doing and how you use your creativity.
Yes. I always feel guilty saying that COVID was the best thing that could have happened to me.
You're like, I love the virus.
No, I always feel guilty, but it definitely was. But you know what? For the longest time, I've been sitting and procrastinating on this kind of stuff. I've been needing this kind of release and an excuse to just start making as much as possible. That's why I go so hard and I try and put out as much as I can every single day because, doing comedy, for example, that's a very difficult discipline to focus on. You can't be doing 5,000 other things when that's what you're trying to build. So you tend to focus on just that. There's no real time to be messing around with other things, because you're trying to build and establish your voice. But for me, I come from an advertising background, right? I worked in advertising for 7 years. I've always been a creative child. I used to do religious oil paintings, and I still have them up in Marion Hill in KZN. So I've always expressed myself in so many different ways. So during that time, I had time to express myself. I couldn't perform, so I just thought, okay, what is the one thing that we're all going through right now? So every time the president spoke and there was a ban on whatever, I knew that this is what everybody was thinking. So I thought, how do I take that and such a relatable moment and be as reactive as possible? So I was literally getting stuff out within the hour, within 2 hours max.
You
And
are fast.
Yeah.
Like-
No, I don't take long to craft things, but it's experience. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm able to whittle down very complex messages into a simple graphic, sometimes even just a word, because people are scrolling so fast, you want to stop them immediately. So it's the minimalist approach that helps me.
And in terms of what you were saying about the procrastination, why was that? Why were you procrastinating on certain creative sides of yourself? Were you waiting for things to be at a certain level?
Yeah.
And we all suffer from that.
Yeah.
Right? So I want you to share what it is that, how do you go from, I don't want to work on this first, or I need this to be right, to I've got nothing to lose, let me just get it out there. Because I think lots of us, many people, even non-creatives, are sitting with dreams, are sitting with plans, are sitting with, I should really play the piano again. I should really paint because I loved doing that as a child, but they're just not doing it.
It's perfectionism and imposter syndrome that sit on either side of your shoulder, right? So I think when you get to a certain age and you have responsibilities, going back to something that you loved, when you didn't have a lot of responsibilities, you start to think about the time, the effort it's going to take, and you still have this to do and that to do, and you're too tired, etc. But I think the biggest thing is we start to lose the element of play as we get older and as we have more responsibilities. So when it becomes a chore or a task or something that you have to put in the diary to get to doing, you're not playing.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be a deadline set. I don't think that there should be, this very like hardcore, rigid structure that you have to develop. You just have to go with it and do it. I suffer from perfectionism a lot, you know,
Yep.
and I think doing comedy, for example, I didn't want anything else to interfere with that kind of thinking because, you know, you're trying to build a voice for yourself in South Africa, in the world. And it's such a difficult thing because comedy is so immediate, right? Every time you jump on stage, you never know which way it's going to go, especially if you're trying new material. And now if you're trying a full new set or maybe 3 new gags within a set, you got to prepare yourself that you are probably going to die, you know?
Dude, I was about to say,
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do it.
No,
Because
you're going to die.
you just-
Yo, guys, you can't explain to somebody what that feeling is like until you get up there and you go in with high hopes and with confidence, and the audience doesn't resonate with you, and they just sit and look at you. And
Do you know which artistic depiction for me maybe explained it the most?
yes,
It will never be close, but I have been on stage doing scripted comedy, and you rehearse in theater, rehearse things that don't go to plan. But it's different because you can die as a character, not like, oh my gosh, it's Relebogile and the joke I wrote, right?
yes,
But I think Baby Reindeer and the
exceptional.
I felt the pain of that character. And considering for many comedians, we don't see the journey of starting in the small town to
No.
2 people. We don't see that.
No.
And in that series, you see the small town, the 2
Guys.
people, the trying the props,
And you know what? For me, it's not even the size of the audience. Because that's one thing. Sometimes you know the audience is going to be small. And sometimes you prefer a small audience, especially if you're testing material. It's when you get put in a room and it's pumping. And maybe there's 6 guys on the lineup and you're like, okay, no, sharp. I'm going to try some stuff. Everybody else is killing. Bam, you come on and it just doesn't go your way because you just don't establish that relationship with that audience. And it's just, but I guess speaking to the nature of what this show is about, you have 2 choices. You can either give up on the spot, and we've seen many young comedians just give up completely.
I'm sorry, you gave up. You've quit stand-up.
Who,
We're
me?
gonna
No.
Donovan, why do you guys never involve your other cousin in the mix?
Who?
Slaying Goliath.
Nice. I was trying to think, wait, is there another Goliath now?
There is another Goliath because why are you guys not giving him a chance
Yeah,
to
maybe
be in the mix?
Slang Goliath can design all our artwork and stuff going
How
forward.
brilliant is he?
Once.
He
Once.
is brilliante. Okay, before we went to the break, I was just, obviously pressing a button by saying you quit comedy because no one wanted to laugh at your jokes
That's
anymore.
hilarious.
But actually you quit because now you're making more money.
Well, I quit because I'm doing the things I love. I also realized I can't just do one thing.
Yes.
I have to express myself in a lot of different ways. And what I do now, I do so many different things and they make me so happy. And I like that fear and that uncertainty of not knowing how things are going to go, but trying to figure it out and collaborating and working with teams. And this is me, this is me. This is what I actually want to be doing now. And comedy was, I guess, comedy and working in advertising was, I needed to go through those phases to develop, the art of storytelling, the art of selling, the art of creating. All of these things come together. They culminate into, my current role, which I can't define. I don't know what it is.
I was going to say, what is your title now? Because it's so hard to introduce you and encompass. And I mean, I'm a person who's like, I kind of hate titles because they never truly explain what it is that you do.
Yes.
I feel like we need to make up a title for you. And I'm challenging all of us and the listeners to
Well, let's
send
do
a
this.
title.
Let's summarize more or less what I do, right? So what clients, I guess, send me very complex things.
Yes.
Whether it's a brand or a product or whatever it is I'm trying to speak about, and challenge me to filter these things down into something fun, witty, engaging, relatable, palatable, and shareable, right? all of those things in one. And it's my job
And
to just...
sellable.
Sellable, of
Yes.
course. So how do you take this very complex message and break it down? And one would say, oh, yeah, but I mean, that's just advertising. No, it's not. Because I don't really play in that hardcore advertising space. I play on social media, which is quite... it's a little bit more difficult because people don't want to see ads. So my job is to kind of make ads where people go, wait, did I just watch an ad? Why am I watching it again?
Are they selling me something?
Yeah, so I just create fun content where I'm trying to deliver a message that somebody has paid me to do.
I have a title for you.
Sure.
I'm not happy with it. It's a work in progress.
Let's hear.
Look at your face.
I'm very excited.
I'm gonna go with creative ninja for now.
Wow.
Because
Yeah, that's nice.
you have to karate chop some
Yes.
things, and I'm gonna go with creative
Ninja is nice.
for now.
Creative Ninja is better than creative director because
Yeah.
anybody can say they're a creative director, right? And that's my
Yeah.
standard title.
And they never actually translate what that means.
Yeah.
Also, because you get creative directors in TV, you get creative directors in other things.
Fashion.
I'm wondering about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what it was like being a little colored boy, growing up where you grew up.
Mhm.
You didn't look like how people expected you to look, and how that influenced what your understanding of failure is. And it's not often that I ask the question in that way, but us knowing where we come from and where our country has been, I think it's something we don't speak about enough, how one's perception of self can look like success or failure because of what you look like and where you came from. I mean, being one of 5 black girls in an all-white private school back in the day, I just remember having certain thoughts about myself as a black girl in a very white environment, and that had to evolve over the years.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's not a question that it's a great question and not something that I've ever had to kind of think about or prepare for. But I think you've struck a little bit of a chord.
It's my
which is-
job.
No, that's amazing. Wow, that's why you're here. That's why you are here. But I must say, so my mother passed away when my sister and I were very young, right? So my dad raised us for a long time until he remarried again. And in that time, there was that window where, and kudos to him. And I actually had a bit of a sit down and a cry with him just last week. Strangely enough, he came to visit my newborn, and we had a bit of an
just
emotional...
by the way, yes, he's got like a 3-week-old
Yes,
at home,
exactly.
and you're here with us. I'm
There we
judging
go.
you, but also happy you're here.
Hey, children are expensive, guys. We need to... we are branding here. No, but... in that time, my dad created such a safe, comfortable space for my sister and I. We were very young, and I think he took away. He somehow managed. He's a soft, very kind man, and he did such an amazing job of taking away fear, uncertainty, not having a mother in the house. Providing a lot of warmth, a lot of light, and constantly just, made us laugh. Wow, you're making me so emotional. Made us, no, really, like this is quite deep. Like you've really just I've never thought about this, and I think it's always good to reflect on like that far, because sometimes there's a timeline where we stop and you go, oh, what's the first job I had?
Yes.
That's where failure and,
Yes.
this whole thing you're speaking about. But to go all the way back and see how small bits of trauma may have impacted who you are today, I think it's important to speak about it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I think my dad created such a good safety net for my sister and I, and such a good... He just made it feel like everything was going to be okay, right? So I come from Mthatha in the Eastern Cape, and I was very blonde and very fair growing up. So I stood out.
You looked like, as the TikTok song goes, a whitey.
Yeah.
A whitey. You have to be online to understand the song.
There we go.
But there's a song, yes. So you look like a white kid,
Yeah.
which can be seen as a privilege, but also is not a great thing necessarily in your own community.
But no, because I didn't think about it that way. And
Yes.
neither did anybody else, because at no point did I feel like I stood out. I mean, I spoke isiXhosa growing up, so I just kind of immersed myself, with whoever I was. People obviously would turn and be like, oh, ngubani lo? Umlungu mthatha. Kuba ntoni, guys? But I never thought about that, and I've never used that as a thing, And then I think when I could draw. I've always been able to draw. I've always been a creative kid, but I had nobody to turn to, because you're growing up in the 80s. Who do you speak to in Umtata about design, about photography, about art? That's not a job, So it's always it's a hobby. But I know in my heart of hearts, I can't define it. In my heart of hearts, I know that this is the thing that I want to do, but I'm not like saying it out loud. It's just in my heart. It's not in my head yet, because you're still being told, but you're going to be one of 5 different things. Exactly, But I hated all of those things. I hated numbers. I was not going to get into medicine. I didn't want to do anything else. I just didn't know what I was going to do until matric. And I met Jason Crane, my first mentor ever, who was a substitute teacher. Do you want to pick up on this?
I'm going to have to pause because there's this thing we do at the station. It's called news.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
This is news. This is news. Nobody knows what's news to me.
The upside of failure, we're with creative ninja, Donovan Goliath. And we take your calls, questions, 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line, 072-702-1702. Before we went to the news, we got to the part of your story where now you met your creative mentor. And your mentor, there's something you said that just resonates with me so much. And I think you've articulated a little bit better than I've ever been able to articulate it. Whenever I get interviewed and people ask, did you always know you were going to be doing what you do? And it's hard to say that I knew what I loved, but nobody was saying, when they say of options of things to do, musician, artist, performing talent as part of the list. So you were never able to say, I will be A. And when it was I will be A, okay, cool, I'm good with numbers, so I can be A. But you couldn't say I will. It's like you looked at a Mariah Carey or Whitney. She does something that I think I would want to do, because it was never something that was spoken about as a thing you could do until life happened the way that it did. But my path was always going to be academic. And it just made me wonder, because we've got kids the same age, that they get to grow up in a generation where they have all these cool titles they get to be exposed to. So when you look back now, meeting your mentor, was the person able to say to you, these are things you can do? Or did they say to you, don't even bother trying to put a name to it, just be yourself? Like, what were you told?
You know what? So he was a substitute teacher, because one of our teachers, Mrs. Mtebele, that was her name, yes.
She sounds
was on
mean.
Maternity leave. No, she was very sweet. And then he took over and then decided at my school, Zingisa Comprehensive High School, shout out to anybody. I know a lot of those people listen to 702 now. He decided to do art as an extracurricular activity, which I obviously took on. And he was like, you got some skills, you can draw. What do you want to study? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I have no idea. You must know this is in matric, no?
Yes.
So he says to me, okay, let's go on to the PE Tech. It was still PE back then and still Tech back then, not NNMU.
Yes.
And check out the graphic design course. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. So we go on there and he starts taking me through portfolios. So like we're sitting there for like an hour. He's showing me all the stuff. And I'm looking at it going, why do I love this? No? Like every time
Why am I excited?
Yes, when I've picked up a magazine, you know what my biggest inspiration was always? On the side of the road, the barbers, just on the side of the road, always have these beautiful illustrations of the haircuts you can get. I always loved it. I didn't know why. And it's the incredible simplification of looking at something and pointing at it. You don't even have to know the language to go, that's what I want. I want that picture. I love those things so much. Né? That image. Even spaza shops, if you see a Coca-Cola sign and a picture of a sandwich, you know what you can get there. It's that simple communication. So it was information design that I loved. You see,
Oh,
it
I
just all
like
starts to
that.
add up. I just didn't know what to call it because I had no reference to pull from. And then I applied. My parents were like, okay, what? But they supported me, because
Yeah.
I've always kind of pushed hard for these kinds of things. There was a stumbling block, though. I'll never forget. I was studying for biology, and an uncle of mine. He was like, no, he's not an uncle. He's a family friend, but uncle, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Successful, nice car, nice house, big job, always in suits. That guy, he comes over the one day and he's like, hey, what are you studying? I tell him, he's like, hey, what are you going to study? So I say graphic design. He was taking a sip of his drink and he stops and almost spits it out. And he goes, he calls my dad. He bursts out laughing and he goes, do you know what this kid's going to study? My dad goes, yeah, he told me, but I'm still not sure what it is. He goes, please, there's still time. You have to stop it now. I'm telling you, this kid is going to be, these are exact words, right? He's going to be printing Mickey Mouse shirts and sell them at a flea market outside Circus Triangle, which is a shopping mall in Mthatha. That's going to be his life. And my world came crashing down.
How the audacity people have to speak people's fates to them.
That thing destroyed me because, he's the successful guy. So you go, oh my gosh, he might be right because he looks like he knows some stuff. And my dad was just like, so you could see I was just gutted. So he pulled this dude away, being my dad, and he just kind of let me be. So I had so much self-doubt going into it. By the time I got to PE, my first year in PE was so tough because they told us after, out of 90 or 100 students, only 20 are going to be chosen to go into graphic design. Do you know that I'd say 90% of my first year I spent in the library learning, trying to figure this thing out because I didn't want to disappoint my parents, didn't want to disappoint myself, but subtly, it was a middle finger, I'm so sorry to say, to that dude.
You had to. Okay,
I had to.
where's he in life now, that guy?
I don't want to speak about it because it's not great.
Say, you have to tell us.
No,
We're invested.
No, I don't want to speak about it. He's not doing so great. Like a lot fell apart. But sometimes
Wait,
I
have you
think I needed it.
drawn him a little Mickey Mouse?
Maybe I
t-shirt
should
and sent it?
just to send it saying thanks. Maybe I should say thanks. But I think that little bit of not disbelief, that's the wrong word. Him not believing in what I wanted to do was one of the best things that could have happened to me because I took it and I ran with it and I used that as fuel. I used that as ammo to keep going. And that's where I met my other mentors, who I will always shout out as well at PE Tech, Mary Duker, Bruce Cadle, Inga Economo. People, I'll never forget Mary Duker, very strict, so clever. I'll never forget her saying to me in fourth year, I was going to stay in PE because I was already offered a job.
Yes.
Right? And she said to me, if you stay in PE, I will make your life a living hell and I will make sure you get fired. You are not meant to be here.
Oh.
There is something inside of you that is a lot bigger. I don't know what it is, but you're not meant to be in PE. I will not be a reference for you. I will say bad things so they don't hire you anywhere in PE. Please go to Joburg, go to Cape Town. You have to do it. And I did. I was still studying and I applied and I got my job in advertising before I finished studying. So I had to wait until the following year. So these are people who saw things in me that I had no idea even existed and still do.
So let me ask then, when it comes to your faith, what do you believe in? Because your story, I'm getting goosebumps, is riddled with big godly interventions.
Yes.
Very big godly interventions.
We grew up in a religious home. I'm Catholic. So I believe in these kinds of things. I believe that those people were put there for a reason, that I was meant to meet them at that time. Even now, with my current partnership with Goliath and Goliath, where in the world do three guys named or with the surname Goliath meet up in a comedy club, all end up doing the same thing and go on to do things beyond our wildest dreams? That's not chance.
And it's not chance that you're here and I've just introduced the fourth Goliath.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's not chance.
To the whole batch of things, not at all. And
yeah.
What's beautiful as well is there is a certain naivety about where you were at all those moments. That
Mm-hmm.
if you were those people that knew too much, you would not be here.
No, not at
You know
all.
what I mean?
And
Like that certain level of, for you to even be open to be sitting listening to that substitute teacher. Had
yes,
you been a kid who's like, I know what I'm doing, you would have never given him a chance. For you to just all those stages, even for some dude in jail who looks successful, to be trying to speak life into your world, like it was meant to be exactly as it is.
yeah, and this is why it's so exciting for me, and why also probably another reason why I don't do comedy anymore, because that's just one path. I'm such a curious person that even now with the current stuff I work on, it's not forever. I don't know what I'm going to be working on because I love exploring.
And your wife is at home going, no!
Yeah. No, we don't need this. Need a bit of stability.
We need to take another break. When
Sure.
we come back, I have to ask about parenting.
Cool.
I've adjusted your title, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's something you said. So initially I said creative ninja, but I'm thinking you need to be creative comms ninja. Somewhere comms needs to come in there,
Comms.
because unless you're creative ninja communicator, something along those lines, because you are a communicator and what you are a translator. You are an interpreter. You take things that people have given you and you interpret it into a language that young people will understand.
That's great. I like that. Interpreter.
You're an interpreter.
Nice. A creative interpreter is interesting because that sounds mysterious. It sounds
Yes.
interesting. Like, I want to know.
Yes, you're a creative interpreter.
Thank you.
Because you take what people are trying to put together and then you interpret it, which is what your sign language interpreters do, your, translation interpreters. You are a dad, and I have loved watching your journey. I think your daughter's maybe 6 months younger than my son. And it was so fascinating watching somebody else's journey that is still fresh for you.
Yes.
So when I'd see her walking, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's going to have so much fun until she starts running. And,
man.
and all of it. And I have to say congratulations on the
Thank
new
you.
Baba.
Thank you so much.
Were you hoping for a boy?
You know what? I mean, my wife is probably listening to this, but I think I was hoping for a boy because I have a sister.
Yes.
So I've grown up with the pigeon pair
Yes.
thing. But honestly, I just wanted a healthy baby, man. I wanted a healthy baby. And I know myself because the gynae was like, oh, you guys should try for another. And I'm like, I will have another girl. That's me.
You've
I'm a girl
accepted.
dad. Yeah, I'm a girl dad through and through. And I absolutely love it. There's a lot of she makes me feel very, very sensitive. I'm, my understanding and my, I guess my level of building an environment to protect the two of them. I'm so cognizant of that because I'm very aware of the fact that the world isn't set up for women at all. And my job right now is to create a soft landing for them as much as possible and prepare them for what's gonna hit them later on in life.
Right?
Yeah.
It's weird because I feel the same way about a son.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the world is not accommodating to men, but the future men that we want to have, the world is not ready for that type of man.
Yes.
And I think it's still being defined.
Yeah.
But that it's very scary. And do you sometimes feel, with your work being public, with people knowing who you are, a bigger sense of responsibility for some of the choices that you make?
Absolutely. I'm very much aware of that kind of thing, So me, I stay out of people's way. You're not going to find me stirring anything, because I never want any of that to come back to my kids, to my wife, or to whoever it is, anybody who's in my close circle. So I'm very much focused on making sure that I protect what I've built,
Yes.
and like you say, it's a very sensitive area that we play in, where people know us, and anything you say, anything you do, can be used against you at all times. So, yeah.
We've got a WhatsApp voice note that's come through on 072 702 1702.
Hey, Miss Mabotja, Bumelelo here. I know maybe you should try stand-up comedy because hey, you've been throwing jabs at this poor gentleman, and I've been laughing the whole time. Yeah, you must get on stage and let's see if you die or not.
That's
I will never. You know what? I feel like I'm funny because in moments that are just like
yes.
this. But if I have to write jokes, nah, I could never.
But I love that though. I love that because there are a lot of presenters, DJs, hosts, whatever, who would always kind of steer clear and try too hard. But you are actually you're naturally funny, and I think you can do this thing.
Oh no!
And I
So-
might just like put you on a lineup
No
at some
ways.
point. I think you know what? Maybe we get the listeners to vote.
No ways, no ways. I'll tell you this: if you were to meet my parents and aunts and uncles, we all have massive sense of humor. We all
Sure.
make fun of each other. We still make fun of each other. Even the ones that have died, we still make fun of them. So for us, just the sense of humor, I'm sure there's a lot of trauma we got through just
Of
because
course.
of that.
Yeah.
But just the way that we are, it's just in our nature that we love to laugh. So people always talk about my laugh. We've never been restricted like, oh, you too loud. Nah, laugh
it's
from the
lovely.
stomach
It's
and
beautiful.
absolutely
And
enjoy
it's
it.
incredibly infectious.
Thank
That's
you.
what it is. It's very infectious. Like you make me very comfortable and
Thank
have a good
you.
time.
Let's talk about some of the mentorship things you've got going on. I know you've got a project at the moment.
Yeah, something I'm very excited about. Often I get approached to work on a lot of things, and and normally it's here's a brief, take it, interpret it, like you said, and give us
Yes.
the product back. This one is allowing me to. It's a lot more immersive. It's a lot more collaborative, and it's with Bar One. And Bar One, they've created a mentorship program where if you buy two Bar Ones, for example, you enter the competition and you stand a chance to win a mentorship session with me, and I think there are 5 other mentors as well. Which I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite things, is giving back and sharing knowledge as much as I can. To put it in a single line, I try every single day to be the person that I needed when I was younger. So when I met Abo Jason Crane and all of
Yes.
those people, I want to be that person now for somebody else. I think it's vital. I think as much as young people nowadays have access to social media, have access to every single thing that I didn't have back then, I think they have too much access. I think there's too much information and they don't know what to look for. And I think you need a person to kind of sit down and pull it back and, break down the reality of things and tell
Young
them your
people
stories.
don't even know what it's like reading a box of cereal every day.
Exactly.
The same box of cereal, because that's all the same magazine. And
Or a can of toilet spray.
yeah,
Spit voor gebruik, guys. We know that line.
you do the English and then you turn around
You
and read the
see?
Afrikaans.
Yeah.
I have one more thing
Sure.
I need to ask is, you've spoken about the imposter syndrome, the perfectionism. You now are a dad, you are mentoring, you've gone through this incredible journey, still are on this incredible journey. In all of this, how are you learning to take care of self? Because it's very easy in this industry to not take care of self. And are you fully understanding the concept of wearing the mask first before helping your child?
This is the one part where I fail a lot. I'm so bad at it. I'm constantly putting myself out there, things out there to entertain people. Jim Carrey has this amazing quote where he says his job is not to make people laugh, but it's to free people from concern. And I love that definition, and that's what I love doing as well. So I gravitate towards humor and wit most of the time. That's what I love doing all the time. To my detriment, because I've had multiple bouts of adrenal fatigue, burnout, slipped into depression, I sleep badly. I'm just constantly on edge,
Isn't that though why you got married? Because people say, like, when you have a partner or a wife or a husband, it's self-care for you and another person.
It is, but then society then puts that pressure on you to go, And then, I mean, you have a kid and then you go, I need to provide. I need to create a safe space, not just now, but like in the future, for my children. So you end up working 3 times harder, to make sure that you can hold on to this thing. I'm also in a job that's not very traditional. If I stop for too long, the next person takes over. You know what I'm saying?
So it's hard to commit to taking time off because you don't want to miss the next opportunity. You want to ride the next thing.
which is terrible, and I think it's a lie that I tell myself all the time because I've done enough. I have skin in the game. I can take time off and come back into it, but I think there's a small part of me that goes, yeah, but now there's another kid and then I need to, but I absolutely love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. Nothing I do is a job. It's just, I wake up every single day and I write down 10 ideas that I could potentially work on that day and I work on it. That's it. Every single day. It's just my system. That's my state of flow. My state of flow, to reach it is by working and not by sitting and relaxing. It's just not in me at all.
One sentence, what have you learned about failure that you can share with all of us?
I'm going to use the stand-up comedy analogy where I've died so many times and I had 2 choices. I could either give it up on the spot or go back and dissect it and figure out how I'm going to make it work so that it resonates and lands with the audience. And I think that's a metaphor for everything. It's the whole, fall down once. What is it? What is it? Fall down once
and get up
however many times.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
Yes.
But it always sounds so cliched, but I really do believe in it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Donovan Goliath,
Yo.
I wish I could spend more time with you.
Nam.
Thank you. Love you. Love your work. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And keep just inspiring, man. We love your work.
Okay, next week's episode, we are doing stand-up comedy with Relebogile.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.